G'day folks, it's Rob here. This update is a little bit late, sorry about that. We have had a lot of rain here lately, so I haven't been able to do a lot of work out in the patch. It's a little bit muddy down the back there. And then all weekend I spent that helping my daughter move house. So finally, we'll pop down the back and have a bit of a gander. But before we get cracking down there, just wanted to let you folks know in Australia that the 20% off all root pouches, that sale ends at the end of this month, the 29th of February. And until the 29th of February, or while stocks last, I'm also offering free 200 grams worth of macadamia nuts to any Australian who buys a Queensland Nut Buster from me. There'll be links down in the description and at the end of the clip as well. You folks overseas, I can't sell macadamia nuts, but I'll give you a bit of a discount on the postage. So check that out if you're interested in an awesome nutcracker or want to buy some root pouches for your own patch. But I'll stop nattering on and we'll pop down the back and I'll give you a bit of a gander. So this is what the aquaponic area used to look like, and this is what it looks like now. So we've done a fair bit of work moving the pavers around the area. I don't know if you remember, but our old garden used to have our paved pathways. So we've laid a lot of them down here, just over the rock that was under the aquaponics, and moved the rest of them, thanks to the help of Mark and Sam, up in this area here. And we're just going to store them until we need to use them later on. And we're just moving up all the spare bricks and Besser blocks or cinder blocks we're finding around the place as well. And using under here is a bit of storage area. Eventually we will have a little picnic set that my father made up, a little picnic table made out of gal and some sleepers. It won't be here permanently though, don't worry, there will be an aquaponic system here eventually. But yeah, it'll just be somewhere nice for us to sit right down the back for the time being. Now with all that rain, we had a few issues with some of the little pouch trays. Basically the pouches had been sitting in water for well over a week and started to get a little bit of a funky anaerobic smell, and I did notice 1 or 2 mosquitoes in them. So I decided to pull these pouches out, and I've stored the trays down the back, and I drained as much water as I could out of the other trays. They've actually used up all the water over the last 2 days. We haven't had any rain. Now all these plants here, we've got some native ginger and oregano and other bits and pieces. They will be going down into a little temporary garden area. I've already moved the blueberries down. They're just basically going to be set up in this little area that was the old hoop house, just so we can have the landscaping equipment drive around it to work on the retaining walls that will be going down that fence line there and along old mate's fence line down the back. Just quickly, I'll just explain what's going on. We're going to end up with a row of ornamental trees, some native bushes that will hopefully encourage some birds and beneficial insects into the area. Another reason why we're having it there, serves a couple of purposes. Old mate likes to play his music really loud on the weekend and whenever he's home in his shed, and I can't film out the back here, so we're hoping some fairly densely foliaged trees will dampen the sound. Also too, we can hear it up on our deck when we're relaxing up there, so we're just trying to soften that sound so we don't have to listen to it all the time. As a result, we've decided to move the chicken pen that was going to sit in the middle of the backyard there over here to basically the pen will be set up where the old compost cage is, filled with star pickets or star posts, and it will run down this way here. One of the reasons why is because our sun comes from the north, which is roughly over there. We don't want anything too tall there tree-wise, so that will allow a lot of sunlight through here, which will be the garden area. This area here, as I said, will be a temporary one, won't it, Lizzie? So what I'm going to do is drag all the wicking barrels from around the place and set them up in here. Some of you folks may have noticed that the clay that I had drying out here is gone. It's now up underneath the house. It's sitting in 2 aquaponic grow beds, frames that I've just lined with some shade cloth. So hopefully that'll dry out over the next week or two. Another thing that the rain has caused is a fair amount of fruit drop from the lime tree. Just small ones, not quite ripe enough to use. So that's a little bit disappointing. One of the reasons why I think we had a few issues with too much water here was all the water was running down from the front of the property and then running through here and then through into Pauline's yard. So there's just so much water in the ground here, it's just soaking in. I don't think it's good for the lime tree. And I actually did have plans in the redesign of the patch to have the water run past the lime tree to soak the ground here and then run further on down the patch. But I've changed my mind and I dug a little bit of a trench. Might be a bit hard for you to see, but I did dig a little bit of a trench that brings the water all the way down here past the Lizzie dog. Hello Lizzie. It sort of flows, spreads out over the ground here, picks up in another trench, and then gets deposited out in the backyard. You can see some of the sand it's already dragged down. But the idea is to have this water come down, and it will water the trees down the back there and also the mango. Now for you folks who think that may not be a lot of water, I can tell you we had so much water coming down through the front of the property that it started to erode out the retaining wall at the front of the house. We've got some massive holes behind the retaining wall, so I had to re-divert the water. Now the way this place was set up before the renovations was we had a retaining wall come all the way out to the edge of this cement here, and that was blocking a lot of water entering the property. Obviously, because we've made a change here, we've got a lot of water coming through, and it was just spreading out all over the ground and running down underneath the house, which caused the washout on the retaining walls. So obviously I've dug a little bit of a gutter here for the time being, and that's collecting all the water, and it's running it from the front yard all the way back down to the mangoes, as I showed you before. And with that amount of rain, we've actually ended up with a nice deep little gutter being formed here. And over here as well, I've used the old back stairs just to stop any water that wasn't caught in the gutter from running underneath the house. And it was diverted down the other side of the house, past all those weeds. Yes, we've had rain, I haven't been out here yet, but all past those weeds and down around the other side of the retaining wall. So yeah, we saved the retaining wall. No, it's nice and dry down there. We haven't had any issues. Now this is only a stopgap measure because the day the rain started was the day we were supposed to have the new driveway go in. So it's just one of those things. Gus from Mel Gus Constructions, the concrete guys, he said he's just going to have to wait for it to dry out a bit, and he's got other jobs he needs to catch up on before he can do our place. So just for the next week or two, we're going to have a little bit of a gutter down the driveway. So that little bit of a rethink or redesign with preventing the water from sitting around the base of the lime tree too much is a very much needed one, I think. And also too, it has meant, because we're moving the water down the back now, as I mentioned before, the chicken pen will be moving. Also, the last thing you want running through your chicken pen is a load of water every time it rains. And I do think having those trees along the back fence, not only to stop old mate's radio noise, but also to provide habitat for the local wildlife and insects is a good idea. And yeah, this area here will eventually be planted out with some other trees. Those wicking beds are going. So having a little offshoot come down here and into that area will definitely benefit those plants there. So the backyard is still a little bit of a mess, but over the last couple of days the ground has dried out a bit. So I'll come down this week and try and set up this little area, and I'll give you a bit of a quick update online just at how things are going. Oh, by the way, I did transplant out the dwarf fig and the kaffir lime into these little root pouches here. I did notice that the kaffir lime had some gall wasp damage, so the branch that I snipped off, I harvested all the leaves, and some of them are in the freezer and some of them are in the fridge. And yeah, we just use these leaves in curries and stir fries and that sort of thing. So I hope you enjoyed that little bit of an update on the updated plans we have for the patch down the back here. And for you folks hanging out for an aquaponics update on the system underneath the deck there will be one in the next week or two. I just need to get a UPS sorted for the backup air system and also buy a new pump. So hopefully next week we'll have some funds to do that. As for down the back here, yeah, don't hold your breath. I'll be doing little bits at a time and I'll keep you updated on how things are going there. I would really like to thank you all though for coming along and sussing out the clips as I post them to the channel here and leaving your comments down in the comment section below. I have been trying to keep on top of them a little bit more than I normally do. So yeah, hopefully I'll have a response for you pretty much well straight away when you post it this week. Before I go, I really do need to thank those other marvelous folks who are supporting us through the Farm Your Own Yard supporter website we've set up and also the YouTube membership platform. Thank you very much, folks. I really do appreciate the support, and I'd really like it if you could pop down to the description below and suss out the super contributors or websites and Facebook pages. Show them some love and say good day from me if you visit them. But I will pretty much all leave it there. I do hope you're all well and happy and your gardens are booming, and I'll catch you next clip. Cheers, folks. Have a top one.